Welcome to Snippet Saturday, where we turn back the clock and share some insights from past episodes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Breakthrough Success and leave a review. Alright, let's jump right into the episode. Today's guest for episode 260 of the Breakthrough Success podcast is none other than Adam Markel. Adam, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Marc, it's a pleasure for me to be with you today. Glad to be able to support.
How can we change our beliefs so that we're able to make big pivots within our lives?
Yeah. Well, Marc, I would say just identifying the fact that we are very much a product of our beliefs and our behaviors. So the book Pivot, in fact, is divided up into two sections with a guide at the end, with an action plan and a guide at the end, a 21-day action plan. But the first two parts are all about what it takes to create clarity, because we can't go anyplace in our lives. So using the analogy of driving, if we're driving on the road to any place and we can't see out of the windshield, we have to slow down or stop. And often people are, in fact, riding in their lives in the slow lane. They feel as though they're not living their full potential. They might even feel as though they're living a mediocre life because they're driving so slowly. And other people are actually stopped on the side of the road because they're just lacking in any clarity, and they don't know which way to turn or which way to go next. And I love that old quote. I think it's George Harrison that said that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So there's no question we've got to clear the windshield, to create enough clarity to see ahead, to be able to drive in the fast lane, or at least to be able to stay on the road toward what we want. So the first part is those beliefs. The second part is really about behaviors. And that, for me, is the analogy of momentum. And when I think about what it takes to be able to get to where you want in life, to be able to drive down that road, you've got to have that clarity. You have to be able to recognize there are certain beliefs that you have that are limiting you. And then you've got to know by intuition or otherwise that to change something in your life, you've got to do something different. And that means taking baby steps. That means being able to get into momentum, create momentum, and then stay in momentum. And I love the analogy of dominoes. You know, when you've ever seen dominoes that are set up, it's pretty cool to see them knock each other over. You know, one small tip, one domino will knock over the next one and the next one and so on. And I think the world record is more than 1 million dominoes. So it's pretty amazing when you think about 1 million dominoes being knocked over by just the tipping of one. That's the beginning of the story, but it's not the whole story. It's Newton's law of momentum. You know, body at motion tends to stay in motion. Body at rest tends to stay at rest. But what it doesn't say is that a domino that's only about ½ inch, or maybe even 3/8 of an inch high, not only will knock over another domino that's equal size, but it has the physical capacity to knock over another domino that's 1.5 times its size, which means that you could start out with a domino that's literally less than ½ an inch tall. And by the 28th domino, meaning that domino will knock over another one 1.5 times its size, and that'll knock over yet another one 1.5 times its size. And by the time you get to the 28th domino, that 28th domino, is the size of the Empire State Building. So what that tells you is that taking baby steps, being able to create clarity, and then move in a direction, one step at a time, even though those are baby steps, those baby steps lead to slightly larger baby steps. And by the time you're at the 28th step in that process, the steps that you are taking over the course of 3 months or 6 months or a year, or in my case, 2.5 years later, I guess I was a slow learner, are massive steps. So I went from being a very unfulfilled and unhappy lawyer to 2.5 years later, running a company that was a sort of a dream job for me, traveling around the world, speaking to thousands of people, getting paid very, very well to do it. And more importantly, doing something that made my heart sing, something that I knew deep down inside was my calling. So, you know, in the end, when I look back on that period of my life, instead of having a midlife crisis, I got a midlife calling. And the way that happened for me was starting with this awareness that I was not happy with where I was, and was looking at where it is that my own belief systems were limiting me.
Want to connect with other listeners? Make sure you join us all in the official Breakthrough Success Facebook group, which you can find over at markguberti.com/Facebook, which will be in the show notes. There are weekly giveaways and a supportive community waiting for you in the group. We hope you enjoyed today's snippet, and we'll see you next time.